Welcome back, y'all, and happy Tuesday. This is the Blue Chip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. Today we're gonna be talking some recruiting for Tennessee, and obviously, man, there's been a lot of things going on. Really, I would say since like Nico left, where it just for me, it's felt like what's Tennessee really doing? Is it because we don't have money? What I've said before is, hey, either Tennessee is maybe lacking on funds, or we are looking more towards our future, but the fact that I feel like Tennessee is missing out on so many players in this 2026 class, I'm just curious. But we are going to go through all the numbers and all that type of stuff and break it down on what Tennessee really needs in this class, what we did in previous class 2025, and just kind of see where Tennessee stacks up versus everybody else. So as always, y'all, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And I want to start it off. Where should we start it off at? Actually, you know what? We're going to start with the chat. We're going to start off right here with David Speaks. So David is saying that we are about to lose Carson Snead. I think that that's a very realistic possibility, and we'll talk about that. Saying that he knows for sure that is going to happen, and that he's probably going to follow his brother Dayton to UNC, and that he would go all in on Matt Ludwig from Montana, and he's a Brock Bowers type guy. So yeah, I mean, there's still several tight ends that Tennessee's in on. In the 2026 class, I would love to have Carson Snead because, whenever you talk about like a Brock Bowers, really for me, Brock Bowers is not a real tight end. He's like a wide receiver that was used as a gadget piece. And if you use them that way, which it feels like maybe the NFL is leaning more towards that now some of the teams anyway, I have no idea why, but either way, I don't know. I would say that Matt is more like a real tight end because Carson, what's his guy's name again? Not Brock Bowers is not a real like blocker or nothing like that. He's just kind of like bigger, slower wide receiver that you line up like, hey, he's going to be blocking and doing everything else, but he's really not. I mean, that doesn't really fit into Tennessee's system. I understand what you're saying there, though. I just want to throw that out there because I don't think, I don't feel like Tennessee needs to go find like Brock Bowers type necessarily. I think we've got guys that are better athletes than Brock Bowers is on this current roster. But yeah, I really like Carson Snead because he has really good size. I would say for me, he's more like a Gronk, because he's huge. He's strong. He's going to be able to make really tough catches. He's a mismatch nightmare, but he can also block. He's going to be physical. So I would like him better than a guy that's just, kind of like a bigger, slower wide receiver, but that's just me personally. I think he would fit better into Tennessee's system and all of that. So we're going to actually start off right here. I'm going to take you to this, show you how Tennessee's 2025 class looked, because this is the class that it sounds like Tennessee has put a lot of money in. And, again, we will be looking at those numbers and all of that for how does the current roster look and what are the needs. But looking at this class, you see where we ended up ranking at. Did we overspend for this class? I mean, obviously, David Sanders headlining it. You got to spend a whole lot of money for him. Then you got Campbell. We know that was a big boy battle. Got to spend money for him. Then we got Brame. So all the people up at the top, you had to spend that money for because everybody wanted them. But Brame, I mean, that one came down to us in Oregon. Chose Oregon first. Then he, I'm going to go ahead and come back to Tennessee. I'm sure that there was some money involved. I actually think that we might have got Bram on a little bit of a discount. That's always good. I think Tennessee probably needs to start doing more of that. Most programs will probably try to start to do more of that. There's still those big boy programs, though, that, hey, if we want you, we're just going to get you. Now, is Tennessee still in that spot? I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. I'm hoping that we still are in that spot if it's someone that we really, really want. But, you're looking at a lot of very good players here. I think this is a very good class. For me, it's probably underrated, okay, because we've got really everybody. I mean, there's nobody. I don't think we missed. Obviously, it's still early on, but I don't think we missed on any of these daggone guys. I mean, listen, we go out and get Jaden Pilati. This guy was ranked as a 3-star at the end of the cycle with On3. That is a joke. I mean, he started off as a 5-star. He's every single bit of a 5-star. So, I know some of the ins and outs with that situation as well. But either way, the whole point here is I wanted to show this class first because this is where most of Tennessee's money sounds like it's allocated to. So in this spring portal window, this is why Tennessee maybe targeted as high of caliber of players as some of us would have wanted. I think that in some of these situations, Tennessee needed to do that, and now you're starting to see some of these transfer portal players. And I love these guards. I mean, really, all these. I think that we did a really good job. You know what I'm saying? Like, to start it off, could have done a little bit better in this spring window because I still think safety is a major issue. I think that you got to spend that. That's why I said Well, I don't know. Looking at wideouts is something that we're still looking for. I don't think Tennessee's going to find one, honestly speaking. I think that it's probably too late in the process for it. But we don't want to pay a backup starting caliber money. So that's where we're at with that whole deal. But let me go ahead and pull this up and show y'all. This is the offense, right? So I have it split up with how many seniors we have, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and then you can see what Tennessee needs under it. You can see the totals. So obviously the offense is very young. We only have 4 seniors. Now, I did this based off of some of these guys are juniors, but they're redshirt juniors. Some of the guys are sophomores, but they're redshirt sophomores. I'm just doing it like if they're redshirt guys that are sophomores, they're going to be in the sophomore category. So we do have a little bit we have more veterans than maybe what it looks like based off of this. But here you can see, hopefully everything does make sense with this, what Tennessee's really looking for. So quarterback, we've got a senior. I think he's going to be done after this year. I don't know if he's going to have any eligibility left. There's a lot of things changing with the House settlement and, maybe with the 5th year. And we have no idea how that's going to look, but I'm just anticipating that he's probably going to be gone. So Tennessee needs one more guy. We've already got our guy that's phased on. We'll take a look at that 2026 class here in just a minute. But running backs, Star, again, he's a senior, probably going to be leaving us after this year. I think the Tennessee just needs one. There's a lot of youth here, but at the same time, what if Bishop goes and balls out? What if Peyton Lewis goes and balls out? What if they both ball out and then they both want to go pro? All of a sudden, you're going to need more. But this is like that needs column. It's just about what we need. This is what you're going to be targeting first. Doesn't mean that you can't add more than that, but you got to, I think, at least try to get this. And we all know that Tennessee loves to add very versatile players that can do a multitude of different things. But let's talk about tight ends because we're just talking about that. So I think that we're going to be losing 2 guys there, which is why I put 1 to 2 potentially coming up in the 2026 class. Carson Sneed, like we just touched on, I don't think he's going to end up in this class. He might still, but probably not. His brother's going on to UNC, okay? He likes UNC. I told you that for me, he looks a lot like Gronk. Belichick obviously coached Gronk. To me, that just makes a whole lot of sense. I think he's going to end up there. So we got to find, I would say, 1 to 2 more because I'm looking at this room and I'm saying, obviously, Kid's gone, right? He's not going to be able to come back more than likely unless something crazy happens because I think he did play JUCO. So he might get a 50 or he might get 1 more year possibly, but he probably wants to move on. Like he's got a family and all of that. So he probably wants to go on to the pros. And then we got Ethan Davis. If he has a really good year, which I think that he will, kind of fits into that Brock Bowers mold. I think he's a better athlete than Brock is. I think he's probably going to be more physical than Brock was. He's already bigger than Brock. I mean, Brock was like 6'3", like 235. That's why he never really measured anywhere. That's why he never really ran his 40. So I'm saying all those things just to say that now that the NFL is trending more towards these tight ends that you can flex out and they're basically, again, bigger, slower wide receivers. I think that Ethan Davis, he's going to have a pretty high draft stock if he has a good season, which he probably will. So, probably going to be losing 2 guys there. And I think that we probably want to go out and add 2 more. All right, so wide receivers. We can see right here, all we have is 1 senior. Of course, that's Brazel. And then we've got a bunch of underclassmen. So I would say we probably need to try to add 3 to 4 at this spot. We've got a few already. I think we have 2. Again, we will be looking at it. But you have to go out and add some more wide receivers. Well, we can't get into the same situation again. I think that might be part of the reason that we're not going to overpay for a backup this year. Like I said, I feel like some of this stuff, it just screams, hey, we're not looking at this year like, hey, this is the year. I don't think Tennessee, they're not going to say this, but based off of the movement, I wouldn't say that we're all in for this season because if we were, then hell, if we got to pay a backup wide receiver when we know that we really need one, if we have to pay them a little bit more than pay everybody else a little bit more, if we have the funds like everyone's saying that we do have, we would pay that. But I just don't think that that's the case. So I'm not mad at that. I'm not really mad at that. I think that you've got to be smart. If we're in a bad situation from the 2025 class where we can't add anything, then either way that you slice this thing up, you want to hold on to most of the high school players, and you want to try to build it up that way. And you want to make sure that you're paying them a good rate. You don't want to overpay. You don't want to underpay, but you want to pay within market value. I think that if Tennessee does that, which it sounds like in 2025 we're overpaying, if we can do that, then we should be fine. Talking about offensive tackles, I think that Lantern's going on to the league next season, so he'll be one of those. He'll be one of those juniors. And then the other one I think is Brian Grant. So looking at there are a lot of underclassmen here. And I would say that we need to at least add 1. We already have 1, but maybe 2, right? Maybe two. Centers, I'm going to say, maybe one, because we really only have two guys that are true centers on this roster, but they're both freshmen. We got a redshirt freshman with William Satterwhite. Then we have Nick Moore, who's a true freshman. So I would say that you probably want to add one. You might not absolutely have to add one in this class. You might want to space out the centers just a little bit. So we might look at that more for 2027's class. Either way, that's how I have it slotted out right now. Guards, I'd say that you need to add one. You can see that there's a lot of youth here. But again, talking about guys like Sam Pendleton, what if he balls out? What if some of these other guards that are technically, like redshirt sophomores, but third-year guys that will be eligible to go onto the league? Or what about the transfer portal too? So, I mean, that's how you have to look at what the roster looks like right now, but you also have to understand what's the future going to bring. That's up to the staff. Either way, I would say one right there. So we're talking about a total of 9 to 11 players on offense that Tennessee needs to add, I believe, in this 2026 class. Okay. So let's talk about defense now. So now we're looking at the defense, and you can see that there's a little bit more. So there's technically seven seniors here. Some of those guys are going to be like redshirt seniors. But I think that, again, some of the juniors, I think that really, I don't know if we have too many redshirt juniors. We might have one. Either way, right? So this is what we're looking at. For the tackles, I think Tennessee needs to add 2 to 3 more, because we know that that's a spot that Tennessee's had to go to the transfer portal to add some more bodies almost every single year, if not every single year. We've had to add, at least 1 or 2. Now, Coach Garner does a great job with whoever comes into that room, but you want to have the nucleus of this team be from the high school ranks. So 2 to 3. Okay, Leo, I'd say 1. There's a lot of youth there. Not a lot of guys that will be going on pro. We have 2 guys that, we've got 1 senior. Obviously that's Joshua Josephs. And then I would say Caleb Herring, he has a chance to also go pro. Whole lot of guys there that are ballers. Okay, so I feel fine about that room. Just go out and add the best guy that fits into the room and all of that. I mean, Coach Gardner knows what he's doing. And then we'll go on to the strong side ends, right? So strong side ends, we're going to be losing 2 guys. So Dom Bailey, Tyree West, those guys are seniors. They're definitely going. If Tyree Weathersby steps up and has a really good year, he could go 2. So I've got that at just 1. You can see that there's, it's a pretty good quantity. But if Tyree Weathersby goes, you probably want to, I would say, add 2. You might want to add 2 for both of the ends just to be safe, because you just never know. But it feels like Tennessee does a good job of holding on to our ends. So next, linebackers. A lot of youth here. We got Jeremiah T-Lander. We have Arion Carter. And I put Ben Bolton in here. I think Ben Bolton technically is still a walk-on guy, but I put him in there with those juniors. So, Ben Bolton might be back next season, but I would say that for sure Arion Carter's gone. Jeremiah T-Lander might go. We just don't know. But I think that we're fine here. You just go out and add you one more guy, one really good guy that fits into the room and can maybe push some of those upperclassmen for some playing time next season. Then we have safeties, man. Like we touched on, Andre Turrentine, he's the veteran here. He's going to be gone after this year. And then we've got a lot of guys that are very, very young. I would say that you at least need to add 2, and we're going to talk about Joel Wyatt here in just a minute, but you at least need to add 2, if not more than that. At star, I'd say just 1, still very young here. Booth's he's got 1 more year left. And also Jordan Thomas, he would be the junior that you're seeing there. Jordan Thomas we don't know where he's going to be playing at this season. We know he was star last year, and he was star the previous year too. So, we're not sure there. Either way, maybe he can come back for 1 more year if he sits out this year. Have no idea. But I think Tennessee just needs to add 1 here just to be safe. Cornerbacks, I'd say 2 to 3. Ton of youth here. Ricky Gibson, I think we've got 3. Our 3 best cornerbacks will be gone next season. Okay, they're going to be gone. I can almost guarantee you that. So we need to add, I would say, 2 to 3. So we're talking about a total of 10 to 12 players that Tennessee needs to add on defense. All right. With all that being said, let me jump back into this chat right here. Let me see what David is talking about here. So he's saying that there's an in-state high 3-star running back, Chris Talley that he'd swing on if we miss on hitter. And Jonas Walton looks like we missed on him. Yeah, that's the thing, though. I think that you want to have 5 scholarship running backs. If we don't see a guy that we absolutely love, I don't know that the staff goes out and just adds one necessarily. I don't know. I mean, I would call that, for me personally, that is a need, but they might not see it that way. And also saying that he wishes that the high school recruiting was based on true needs filled, but the transfer portal tampering that you don't Honestly, no. I guess till the very end of the season, if signing day is over. Yeah. Okay. So he's saying when, not if. Yeah. I mean, this is why they get paid all that money. Is why I said that I feel like Tennessee does need a general manager because you have to understand what's going on with your current roster, how it's going to change moving forward, what is the future of the market look like, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I just wanted to give kind of like an overview of maybe how it looks. But now, what I would like to do is bring you back to our 2026 class. We're going to talk about that and how that looks at this current moment. So, this is Tennessee's 2026 class, or I'm sorry, this is the rankings. So you can see teams like USC, they're at number one. They have 27 commits right now. It feels like historically they always get a bunch of commits early on. And I think it's because they're in Southern California. I mean, you're in LA, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of talent there, right? I mean, just talking about just that area, there's a ton of really good football talent. So that's how that works. I mean, I would just say that most of the time you come there, you know that they've got plenty of money and all of that type of stuff. There's again a whole lot for you to do. That's great weather and all that. So yeah, players are gonna pull the trigger early. 27, that's a lot of players. LSU, they're sitting at 10. And then the Buckeyes are at 12. Notre Dame's at 14. A&M is at 11. Alabama's at 5. Georgia's at 8. Oregon's only has 7, just like Tennessee. Clemson has 14. Penn State's at 15. Miami is at 9. And then we have our Tennessee Volunteers at number 12. We have 7 commits at this point. So let's go ahead and dive into this and see how that looks. So obviously, Faison Brandon, quarterback, he's really good. I think the Tyreek King, local guy, Knoxville guy, really, really good playing a wide receiver. Happy that we were able to land him. Now, we did miss on guys like Tristan Keys, which I felt like was going to end up in this class. Either way, he's not here. So we got it. There's still some other players like Corey Barber. I don't know where Tennessee's at with him, but I would love to add him. He's an NFL wide receiver for sure. But so, we have one right there. Then we've got an offensive tackle here who I think he's got a pretty good ceiling. He's not very polished now. I think he's still new to football, but he's going to get coached up. But he's got everything that you want to be able to work with. The staff is going to have to get him coached up. We talked about Carson Snead. It's probably going to end up going on to UNC or somewhere else. I don't think he ends up in this class. Tyron Evans, I love him. He's a bigger wide receiver. Wide receiver's huge. I think his stock is going to go up. He's only a 3-star right now. He's a 4-star with one site, also with on 3 actually. He is a 4-star, but happy that we were able to land him. That's big. Then we got CJ Edwards playing on the edge. I don't know if he's going to be playing strong side or Leo. Either way, I think he's really good. And then we've got a linebacker right here, Braylon Outlaw. So, we've touched on some things. I feel like Tennessee will probably add another linebacker. I know that we said we only probably needed one, but we're still swinging at some really high caliber linebackers. Not to say that Braylon Outlaw is not good. I watched this film. I think he's very, very good. But, I mean, if you can find some players that you feel like might be able to do a little bit more for you, of course, you want to add those players as well. So only 7 right now, heading into the summer. This is May. So the coaches are out. Okay, coaches are out and they're scouting, watching spring practice. And I can tell you, I've been at my nephew's spring practice up there at Buford. I've been looking for the Tennessee coaches. Where the hell are they at? Everybody else has been there. Tennessee's not there. Let me say this real quick. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. Let me explain something to everybody. Whenever you come to the state of Georgia, which Tennessee should understand this, we got 2 guys from Buford High School last year. You go to Buford first. Why? Because they're super deep with talent. Now, this is their roster from last season, just to give y'all an idea. And I would have showed you this season's roster and how it looks as far as all the players that have a bunch of, high-profile offers and all of that and very, very highly ranked. But they don't have everybody up just yet. But I can tell you right now, last season's roster was good. This season's roster, as far as talent goes, is even better. They've got whatever you're looking for. Buford has it. I can promise you that. Okay. And actually, there's a few players that I want to kind of highlight here. So let me see. Did I pass him on? Okay. So the first one right here will be Ethan Hauser. Ethan Hauser, he's listed at 6'2" here. That's old. He's at least 6'3.5", almost 6'4". Tall, long range guy playing at safety. Okay. Tennessee's already offered him. He's 2027 kid. Okay. Tennessee's already offered him. He's wearing number 14, just like Eric Berry did. Is that because he's a Tennessee fan? I don't know, but I think that he likes Tennessee. Why the hell haven't we been there? I would hope and pray that we've still been talking to him. I'm watching this guy say, my goodness, he's got everything that Tennessee needs. We need really good safeties. We're looking for the guys that are tall and are long and can run. He can do all those things, and he's going to thump you. He's a worker. He's a workhorse. All the time, he's somewhere doing something, working out, getting next level training. There's absolutely no excuse that we're not already at Buford. I don't know how many times that we can visit Buford or visit the same school. It might be 3-4 times, whatever. We better have as many people going 3 to 4 times. The roster is filthy deep and loaded with NFL talent, not just college talent, but with NFL, with future NFL talent. So I'm very disappointed with that aspect of it. But let me also get to some of these guys from the 2028 class. So all right, so you're seeing some here. Obviously, they've got some guys that are going to be very, very highly rated, but there's two that I wanted to point out that I that are already, like, I think On3 put out this little list yesterday of the top players in 2028. These are two defensive ends that made it. They're going to be 5-star guys. So the first one is Luke Neighbors right here. So Luke Neighbors, he's got a bunch of offers. I mean, a ton of them. He's a rising sophomore. He's got a ton of offers. Playing in, they got him listed at about 6'4" there. 190. He's bigger than 190 for sure now. He's starting to fill out. He might be closer to about 6'5". I think he likes Tennessee pretty good, but we got to turn it up some. All right. And then we also have Christian Webb Scott right here, 6'5", 220, definitely bigger than 220 now. He's probably closer to, I would say, 250, 260, probably closer to like 6'6". But those are the two players that are going to end up probably being top 50 players in the 2028 class. I have no idea why we're not showing up to Buford to talk to these guys, to show some face, but I'm hoping that maybe they'll show up at the next practice, which might be today. Either way, wanted to point that out, okay? I wanted to make sure that I could talk about that because that's been very frustrating to me. You do not come to the state of Georgia and you don't stop by Buford first. That whole area, I mean, there's nothing but there's a bunch of NFL talent in this area, like a ton of it. So you can start off at Buford, then you go wherever else. You know what I'm saying? You can go to Collins Hill, which is where Travis Hunter went to school at, which is where Ethan Davis went to school at. You could go to Peachtree Ridge. You could go to North Gwinnett. You could go to Grayson, where Tyler Atkinson's at, where there's a whole bunch of dogs. I mean, every single school just in the county by itself. We ought to live here. We ought to be living here. So I'm very disappointed with that. I don't know if they visited any of the other schools, but you need to be coming to Buford first. Let me go ahead and get to the super chat real quick. And this one is from Will Holder. Thank you so much for that. For $19.99, saying that I watch way too much of your content to get it free. Go Vols. Hey, listen, thank you so much for that. We will be playing the clip for you. But man, look, we definitely we're very, very thankful for people who are constantly viewing us, chiming in with the chat and all of that good stuff. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to switch screens on y'all real quick. Okay, I'm going to bring this back up. We're going to get to some more of these chats, okay? We're going to get to a few more of these chats. What's going on, Ralph? Happy to see you in here. This one is from David Speaks saying that Tyler Atkinson would be the wish list linebacker, but I'll take Brandon Rouse. So there's a kid up in Gainesville too, and I can't think of his name right now. I think he's committed to USC, but Tennessee's in on him. I think that we were in a pretty good spot. I don't know what's happening now. Haven't heard a whole lot here recently, but I'm gonna start to do a little bit more homework and see if I can't figure that out. But yeah, I mean, obviously Tyler Atkinson he should be number one on everybody's list. I just hope that he does not go to Georgia. I'm starting to root for Clemson because I don't think Tennessee has much of a shot anymore. But let's not let him go to Georgia, even if. If I would be, listen, heard that you didn't really like us. Okay, fine. But don't go to Georgia. Like, you don't want to go there. Clemson's a really good program. They got some things going on, right? Like, that's what I'd be doing. And that's what I do. Like, if I'm, out at Buford or talking to any of these high school players, it's Tennessee, number one, if I know that Tennessee needs him. And really, when I'm watching my nephew at practice first, but I'm also, like, whenever he's not going, I'm looking around scouting, and I'm finding people to try to help this staff out. I'm letting them know about this power tee. I've got on a bunch of Tennessee stuff. So that's how I do it. If the guys don't like Tennessee, I say, okay, hey, fine. Just don't go to Georgia. Like, you don't want to go there. And I've got a whole long laundry list. And, let me also – hold on, let me get to this chat first, and I'm gonna finish up what I was saying. So Ralph is saying that even without a GM, we're still doing good. Okay, yeah. I love the fact that Heupel is focused on offensive linemen. I think that's a big deal. We focus on front seven. That's huge. And okay, so whoever takes the reins at quarterback in a couple of years should be well protected. Yeah, I think so as well. Let me get to this one right here also from David saying, I hope that we get Leo, which was David Sanders' high school teammate. Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I think that we're in a pretty good spot there. So, he's going to be visiting us last as far as the OVs go. That's really, really big. Okay, so let me get back to what I was saying there. So, Georgia gets that kid, what's his name? That quarterback yesterday from Tennessee. So, Georgia goes out and gets him. And you know, I don't understand why any 5-star quarterback goes to UGA, because what has Kirby Smart done with 5-star quarterbacks? He's butchered every single one of them. If you think about Georgia, think about, and this is Joel Wyatt, so this is where we're going to be going next. But if you think about Georgia, right? What has Kirby Smart done with 5-star quarterbacks? Nothing. Okay. Like, what Georgia quarterbacks that's played up under Kirby Smart are playing in the NFL? He's been there for what, 12, 13, 14, 15 years or something? Like, who's actually seeing the field? None of them. You can look at Justin Fields, who for some weird reason was on the bench behind Fromm. And Fromm's, I don't know if Fromm's even still in the league, but Justin Fields is a starter. He goes on to a different program. He has a whole lot of, he does well there. He's a starter now. So I never understood why any 5-star quarterback would want to go play for Kirby Smart. And I've done my fair share of talking the 5-star quarterbacks out of it. I'll say that right here, right now. I've done my fair share of it and just being honest about it. But that's what we all have to do as fans. Now let's talk about Joel Wyatt. Okay. So this is he was on the thumbnail, and this is a 4-star guy. He's listed as an athlete, 6'4", 185 pounds, goes to the Webb School. So he's a local guy. Okay. He can do it all. You see right here with On Three, they've got him as a very strong Tennessee lean. But what's been going on here lately is we're hearing that Vanderbilt might be the team to beat. Now, I've heard a few different things. I've heard about NIL. Sounds like Vandy's offering him more money than maybe Tennessee is, or maybe the package looks better. Whatever. That to me is a big time problem, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's go ahead and take a look at his clips. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up his highlights here so that y'all can see how he looks while I'm rambling on. But with a kid like this, that we looked at and we said, hey, Tennessee probably needs 2 safeties. I say maybe 3 safeties. He can play safety. We need wide receivers. He can play wide receiver. What about linebackers? We could use 1 or 2 or some guys that are versatile enough that they could do that too. He can play linebacker. He could play Leo. This is a do-it-all sort of a player that's an in-state kid. Okay? What we can't have happen, what we can't let happen, is anybody outbid us for him. If we have the money, then whatever we have to pay. See, this is when you need to start to pay. This is when, hey, this is worth it. We got to pay these guys. Pretty much whatever the going rate is, whatever it's going to take for us to land them, we got to pay that, because you can't miss on these types of players. That's going to be inexcusable if that happens. I'm not saying that it will happen, but right now he's leaning more towards Vanderbilt. So it sounds like the NIL, like what he's talked about, that's part of it, but it's not just about the NIL. Some teams are offering him to play offense, defense, special teams, just like a Boo Carter, just like a Travis Hunter. We're going to see more and more of this now. Travis Hunter, he started something different. Everybody wants to be that next guy. Everyone thinks that they can do it. Can he do it? I'd say absolutely he can do it. I don't think that there's any question. Like, looking at his skill set, it's crazy. And I think he will be a very good wide receiver because he has great size. We need the outside guys. We got plenty of guys that are more like, hey, they could do inside or outside. You might like them a little bit better playing inside, just, based off of their stature. But this is a guy who could play outside for you. Like we said, he could do a multitude of different things. But for me, once I realized that, hey, man, Tennessee wants him to play at safety, which is what it sounds like, it could also be Leo. It might be both. I mean, hell, think about having a guy that could go from the first from the first level to the third level. Like we've already got Jaden. Jaden can do it too. But I think that this guy right here might be a little bit of a better athlete than Jaden is. Jaden's bigger too. So, you look at his size, 185 pounds. How is he going to be able to play up front? He's going to have to gain like 50 pounds. So that's going to be tough. But, I think at safety, looking at this guy playing at safety, 6'4", long rangey guy. You know what I'm saying? He can cover a lot of ground pretty quickly, pretty easily. Looks like he understands football well. Why would we, and I'm not saying that this will happen, but why is there even any talk about anybody else? Why isn't he already committed? So I have a problem with it. I do. I don't know. It sounds like Coach Chop is the main one talking to him. Coach Chop's the best guy we got on this staff. I say outside of Coach Heupel. They're both really good. And I'm telling you this from firsthand, talking to the players, talking to their parents, that these coaches are talking to. Those two are really, really good. We got to close out here. We have got to close out here just because you can't let a player like this pass at such a I'm talking more about safety, but because he can do so many different things, we're talking about a few different spots that Tennessee needs players at. So I would be disgusted if we can't land him. To me, that would be totally that would be inexcusable. All right. So let's see. Do we have any more chats in here? All right, so right here we got one from David Speaks saying that Joe Wyatt looks like a Cam Chancellor if he played safety. Yeah, I mean, shoot, I don't know if he would be that type of physical, but if you're looking at his frame, he could fill out because what Cam played at about he was 6'4", what like 230, 235. He was like a linebacker playing at safety. Cam's got he can fill out, to honestly speaking, he really could play on the line because he is so long and lean at already probably about 190 pounds. You could throw 50 pounds on him. I'm not going to say easily, but he will still be able to move. He might lose a little bit of a step because that's so much weight. But yeah, I mean, shoot, you're talking about a guy that could be, talk about a Cam Chancellor, talk about a Taylor Mays, you know what I'm saying? Because Taylor Mays was 6'4", 240, 4'3", 40. Really, Mays is the guy who started those rule changes where, hey, you can't be blindsiding these wide receivers because he was going to kill somebody. Actually, I think that Taylor Mays might have ran a 4.2 40 at 6'4", 240 at SC. So, yeah, I mean, guys like that, that's a major problem. And even if you can't really kill them, if you make them feel like, hey, if you make these wide receivers feel like if you come over this middle, I might lay you out. Like I might really lay you out. They're gonna think about it. Just whiff by them one time, one good time. They're gonna think twice. So yeah, I mean, that's why you want to add these types of players. And I would be very, very pissed off if we couldn't land him. All right. So that's his highlights there. That's showing you how it looks on offense and defense and all that good stuff. So let me get to some more of these chats. This one right here is from my dog 10 Vols 84 or 1084 saying thanks for another well produced live stream. Well, thank you for that, man. Yeah, we put a lot of work into it. I know it's not always the absolute best just because it is tough sometimes with these live streams. Whenever you're going live, things can go wrong. But that's pretty much where I'm at with it, right? So I want to bring up I want to bring this back up and just come back to this, and we can kind of end it off here. Tennessee definitely has got to make sure that we're closing out on the positions of need. First and foremost, I think that we're off to a pretty solid start. I'm a little bit surprised we don't have as many like tackle, right? Like, then this is on defense. We need some more tackles. I think we need to go on and add some really, really good ones. And actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'll tell you what else I would like to do is take a look at some of these visits that we have coming up so that we can see how that portion of it looks as well, because this will give you a pretty good idea of what Tennessee has going on, just as far as some of the future players that Tennessee's still in on. So we're going to transition this on over and take a look right here. All right. So looking at this, right, these are okay. Yeah. So this will be the next OV. This is Tristan Givens. He's going to be coming up June the 6th. Okay. And obviously he's a guy that Tennessee's in a pretty good spot with. Okay. I would love to be able to add him. For me, he's probably a Leo. And then we also have Darius Gray, who I think Tennessee wants him to play on the offensive line, probably at guard, but maybe even at center. I think that he could do either one of those things, but he can also play tackle on defense. So he's going to be coming up on June the 7th. So they'll be up on the same weekend. That's going to be good. It's definitely going to be big. Now we got June the 13th. And, we're seeing some guys here, Jordan Edmonds. So cornerback, he's got really, really good size. I don't know if he's still coming up. He's a guy that Tennessee was in a pretty good spot with. I thought it was going to come down to Tennessee and Georgia, but, he ends up going up to Alabama. I'd much rather him go there than go to Georgia, but he is from Georgia. I think he's a guy that you definitely want. And listen, Alabama's secondary is about to be ridiculous. They've got a bunch of guys that are like 6'2", 6'3", and up that are playing at cornerback that can move. They're going to be a problem. I'm going to tell you that. Alabama's they're definitely coming back. And then we've also got right here, Joey. So he plays safety. He's an athlete. I've heard that he's leaning more towards Notre Dame, but I know Tennessee was in on him. We're working him. You see, he's one of those taller safeties, got really good size. I don't know. I mean, I would love if we could add him for sure, because I think Tennessee really needs some safeties, some really good safeties too, to come in for the future of this program. I would say, hey, listen, go out and get some guys that you feel like can play as freshmen, because that room is so thin. You need now guys. You need guys who can play right now. So then we also have Keyshawn Stencil, Stancil. And, he's another. I think for me, he's probably more like a strong side end. He could maybe grow into a tackle for you, but, he's going to be coming up. We got TJ White playing at backer. He's going to be coming up. Who else we got? We got another backer here, Rodney Colton. Zach Groves, really like him. You know what I'm saying? It'd be nice if we could close out on him. I would love to go out and add 2 or 3 edge guys. JJ Finch, for me, probably, strong side in could maybe play some tackle for you. You know, then we got Hart right here, another cornerback. Haven't really seen much from him. Then we've got Ruffin. I've heard a lot about him. He's a defensive tackle. We got to try to close out right there. He's from Alabama. A lot of times these guys that, and I know he's high on Tennessee. At least last time that I heard him speak might have been a couple of months ago. But a lot of times, when people are from Alabama, they're, hey, you either go to Alabama or you go to Auburn. That's one of like the old things that they say, like some of the old school people there. So next, man, we've got another potential tackle guy coming up. And actually, you know what? Let me see. Okay, I was about to say, I know that this is the big weekend, right? So Savion Hitter, running back, Tennessee's going to swing hard for him. Sounds like right now it's us and maybe Michigan. And just don't go to Georgia, okay? Just do the right thing. You don't want to go to Georgia, son. I mean, you don't want to go there. Rodney Dunham, who, I mean, he loved Tennessee early on, was going to be, playing Leo for us. Ends up going on to daggum Notre Dame. I don't know if he's still going to visit us. I hope that he does. Maybe we can flip him, okay? That's one that I don't understand how that's happening. Like how we so far in the lead with some of these guys, and then all of a sudden they just end up going somewhere else. That one could have been an NIL situation. We know that Notre Dame's got some very deep pockets, and I'm not just talking about how much money do we have to allocate to all the other sports. It's not about how much money did Tennessee make last season, because you can't spend all that, because we could only spend $20.5 million worth of revenue sharing. So how much we made really is of no consequence unless we can take some of that money and allocate that to NIL. Can we do that legally? Maybe now we can. That's something that you got to start looking into. Now, that would be great if we could do that, but I don't know if that's how it's going to work. But most of that money, that $280 million, that's going to the other sports, right? Like most of it was made by the football team. That's going to other sports. So that to me is kind of like a non-factor. I mean, that's great. It looks good, but how liquid are those funds for us to use on our football program? I don't think that it's very realistic. So next, man, we have Jordan Smith. This is another safety. Please don't go to Georgia, son. And he's from Warner Robins. He's probably going to Georgia. Whenever you see players from Georgia and they're from the country, they're probably going to Georgia. That's just how that works. If they're more like from the city, then they might not want to go to Georgia. All right. So this one right here, who's his next one? Oh, Harris. So he chose Auburn, but he really likes Tennessee. At least last time that I heard about him, really likes Tennessee. He's another edge guy. Would love to add him. He's coming up. Jonas Walton, which we don't know how that's going to look. I think that, I know that David said it feels like we might kind of be taking a backseat to maybe a different program, but I think that Tennessee's waiting on Savion Hitter, and if we can't get Hitter, then it's Jonas Walton. I think we might turn the pressure up a little bit more for him if we know that Hitter's going somewhere else. But if I'm on the staff, I would take Jonas Walton, and then I'd say, because if Hitter's playing games, you can't wait forever. You say, hey, we'll hold another spot for you. If you want to come, you can still come. But if you come first, and we don't have to get anybody else. So that's on him. That's the way that I would phrase that. And then Leo, right? So he's, like we said, he's going to be visiting us last. All these guys, really, I think that this is going to be all their last, their last OVs. But, I don't know. Feels like Michigan's a team that's definitely up there, but it could be some other programs too. I can't even call it. And then we got Craig Tutt. This is another in-state guy playing at safety. Doesn't feel like Tennessee's in the best spot right here. I mean, it's, to me, again, inexcusable. Safety is a position of need. Why aren't we closing out on more safeties? I don't understand. We got to get that fixed. Then we have Brett Colajay, and right here they're saying that he might be going to the U. So I think that IMG, which is where he plays at, that's in Bradenton, Florida. I think that's South Florida. I mean, I'm not mad at anybody for going to school down in Dade County. I mean, that's a beautiful place. But I kind of feel like he's actually from Colorado. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to Colorado. I think that he just recently went on a maybe unofficial visit there or something like that. I would not be surprised. I think that Coach Prom is getting some things turned around. Like we saw that we've got a few players that transferred from Tennessee to play with Coach Prom, and there's some good players. Larry Johnson, Slaughter. I think that those guys are going to go there and do some nice things. And then they've got 2 really good quarterbacks. So I'm just saying they are definitely stepping some things up. Carson Snead, Again, we've already kind of touched on him. Anthony Jones, I don't think that we're going to be able to get him. Haven't heard too much about him recently. He's a California kid, probably wants to stay out west. And, then we've got several other players. Brandon Anderson, right now they've got us in Georgia. And, he chose us at first and he backed out of it. And I thought that Florida was part of the reason for that, but it'll be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out. It will be huge if we could land him too. Carr, he's a guy that really likes Tennessee, really, really likes Tennessee. I think we're in a good spot with him. I think he could play guard for us, maybe center too. And then we've got CJ Edwards, who is already in the boat. We got to hold on to him, though. Excuse me. And then we've got another safety. So at least Tennessee is bringing up some safeties. I think that's a very, very positive thing. But we have to close on them, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. We got to start to close on. We got to start to close on some of these guys. So anyway, y'all, that's about where I'm at with it. I think that Tennessee, we've got to, we've got to figure out exactly what the plan is for this team moving forward. I think that our roster currently is what it is. I don't see us really adding anybody else unless it's just a perfect situation. Very small chance that that's going to happen. So, we have to try to make do with what we have now. It's going to be big that Tennessee doesn't totally fall off. If Tennessee has a good year this season, if we can be on the cusp of making it to the college football playoffs, then that's going to help us out with who's coming after that, like for the 2026 class, just to finish that up, with the obviously 2027, 2028 classes. You know what I mean? So it's about winning. It's about putting players in the NFL. Got to do that. And it's about allocating funds, doing it in a way where we're not just wasting up money. So I think that maybe Tennessee's trying to do that. At least I'm hoping that that's what the plan is for the future. But, man, if this is a class 2026 that I've talked about before, I feel like, hey, this should be top 3 right now. Doesn't feel like it's going to end up being top 3. But if we can be, like top 7, that would be great. Okay, so that's where I'm at with it. I think that in some situations, for sure, Tennessee needs to pick some things up. And Coach Heupel's going to have to look at this staff after this year. If this 2026 class doesn't finish the way that it should, which would be for sure top 10, if this is not a top 10 class, if we're not, wherever we're not hitting on our needs at, you need to go get somebody else to take over for that person that's, that we need to pick up some slack with, or we need to figure something out. So either way, that's it for me, y'all. But as always, if y'all are watching this after this stream ends, please leave your thoughts and comments down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.